Lights flash, cameras roar, but tonight something feels different. This isn't just another red carpet, it's a battlefield of fashion where elegance clashes with experimentation and beauty dares to become strange. Who's stunned? Who's shocked? And who completely missed the mark? Beneath the glamour lies a story of power, identity, and risk, where every stitch whispers intention and every look begs the question, is this genius or disaster? Addison Rae, Versace. A whisper that bites. You expect Versace to kick the door down. Addison Rae. She slips in through the back entrance and somehow owns the whole room. At first glance, it's just silver. Safe, right, wrong. That dress glimmers like it has secrets, like it's been somewhere after hours and refuses to explain itself. This isn't Donatella's usual look at me or perish glamour. This is something far more suspicious and frankly more interesting. The beading catches the light in a way that feels almost too intentional, like it's flirting with you. And then there's that tiny hit of purple at the bust. Subtle, yes. Innocent, absolutely not. It's giving, I didn't mean to cause chaos while actively causing chaos. But here's the real plot twist. Addison doesn't overpower the dress. She lets it simmer. No dramatic posing. No desperate need to scream fashion moment and that restraint. It's almost offensive how effective it is. Because now you're leaning in, squinting, wondering why you can't look away. It's not the loudest look of the night, it's worse. It's the kind that sneaks up on you. Lives in your head rent-free and suddenly has you questioning your entire taste level at 2 a.m. Coleman Domingo, Valentino gold power and a little bit of swagger. And just when you think menswear is going to play it safe for the night, Coleman Domingo steps in and immediately shuts that idea down. Because this is not just a suit. This is a statement dressed as a suit wrapped in gold and fully aware of its own superiority. The first thing that hits you is that jacquard jacket. Rich textured and unapologetically luxurious, like it walked straight out of a palace and decided to attend a gala just for fun. And then you notice something unusual, no collar. Suddenly everything feels a little more daring, a little more intentional. It is giving classic but rewritten with better taste. And Coleman does not stop there. Oh no. There is layering, there is movement, there is a hint of shimmer underneath a scarf or fringe detail that feels just mysterious enough to keep you guessing. It is like the outfit has secrets and it is not planning to share them with you. Then come the finishing touches. A subtle flare in the trousers, a shoe that might be studded, might be sparkling, and definitely does not care if you notice or not. And somehow all of it comes together without feeling overwhelming, which is honestly a little unfair, because while everyone else is trying to be memorable, Coleman just exists in the look and lets it do the work, effortless, polished, and just a little bit smug about it, as he should be. Chase Infinity, Louis Vuitton. Simplicity that silently dominates. And just when the night starts getting a little too loud, a little too desperate for attention, Chase Infinity walks in and does something almost scandalous. She keeps it simple. And somehow that becomes the most powerful move of all. Because this is not about glitter, not about over-the-top embellishment, not about screaming for validation. This is about control. The kind of control that whispers, I know exactly what I am doing and I do not need to prove it. The color alone is already doing half the work, rich, striking, and just bold enough to turn heads without begging for them. But then you notice the construction. The bodice is shaped so precisely it almost feels engineered, pulling the waist in with this quiet authority before releasing into a soft, flowing skirt that moves like it has its own rhythm. It is giving hourglass, but not in a try-hard way. More like, oh, this old thing just happens to fit perfectly. And honestly, that is what makes it a little dangerous. Because while everyone else is busy layering drama on top of drama, Chase is out here proving that technique when done right can outshine all the noise. No gimmicks, no chaos, just pure craftsmanship doing exactly what it is supposed to do. Which, let us be real, is almost more intimidating than any avant-garde moment. Charlie X. CX, Saint Laurent leather lace, and a little bit of attitude. Just when you think the night cannot get any more unpredictable, Charlie XCX steps in and decides to play a very dangerous game with Saint Laurent. Because this look should not work as well as it does. On paper, it sounds like a fashion risk that ends in regret. Drop waist, tricky silhouette, and what appears to be leather on a red carpet that usually fears commitment. But somehow it lands. And not softly. It lands with confidence. The top half teases you with lace, giving just enough delicacy to make you feel safe. And then suddenly it dives into this sleek, almost rebellious leather moment that feels like it belongs in a dimly lit club rather than a polished gala. It is giving elegance with a side of bad decisions, and honestly, that is a very compelling combination. The real shock is how controlled it all feels, because drop waist can go wrong very quickly. It can shorten, flatten, confuse. But here, it holds its ground. It elongates just enough, flows just enough, and most importantly, does not beg for validation. And let us be honest for a second. This is the kind of look that makes you question your own taste. You start off unsure, maybe even skeptical, and then suddenly you are defending it like you are on the design team. It is bold without screaming, risky without collapsing, and just ironic enough to feel intentional, which in fashion is basically the highest form of power. Bowen Yang, NB44, the suit that knows it's better than you, and just when the drama threatens to spiral into full couture chaos, Bowen Yang walks in and does something almost offensive. He keeps it simple. Or at least that is what he wants you to think. Because from afar, it is just a black suit. Clean, polished, respectable. The kind of look that says, I showed up on time and I will not cause problems. But then you look closer and suddenly the buttons start acting strange. They are not where they are supposed to be. They are scattered, playful, almost like they have their own agenda, and now the suit is no longer behaving. It is subtle, annoyingly subtle. The kind of detail that does not scream for attention, but absolutely demands it once you notice. And Bowen knows exactly what he is doing. The pose, the attitude, the quiet confidence. It is giving I did not try too hard, but I still did it better than you. And here is the real kicker. In a room full of gowns begging to be remembered, this suit casually walks in, rearranges the conversation, and leaves without raising its voice. No theatrics, no desperation, just precision. Honestly, it is a little rude, but also kind of iconic. Ayo Edebiri, Chanel Chaos, but make it couture. And just when you think the night is settling into something predictable, Ayo Edebiri shows up and quietly rewires your entire brain. This is Chanel, yes, but not the polite pearl-clutching version your aunt would approve of. This is Chanel after midnight, slightly disheveled, a little rebellious, and fully aware of it. At first glance, the silhouette feels off. The drop waist cuts in a way that almost dares you to question it. The textures shift from soft to sharp, from clean to frayed, like the dress itself cannot decide who it wants to be. And honestly, it probably does not care, because the longer you look, the more it starts to make sense in a way that feels suspiciously intentional. It is giving 1920s flapper, but not the cute costume version. This is the girl who left the party late, lost a heel, and still somehow looks cooler than everyone else. There is a masculinity woven into the femininity, a refusal to be traditionally pretty, and that is exactly why it works. And here is the part that might annoy you. It grows on you, fast. One second you are confused, the next you are defending it like you designed it yourself. That is the trick. This is not a dress that begs for approval. It assumes you will catch up eventually. Demi Moore, Prada Elegance. Then a twist you didn't see coming. Just when you think you understand what elegance looks like tonight, Demi Moore arrives and politely rearranges your expectations. Because at first glance this is classic. Deep burgundy, clean lines, timeless silhouette. The kind of dress that says, I have done this before and I will do it better than everyone else here. And then Prada does what Prada always does. It gets a little strange. Out of nowhere, this soft explosion of chiffon emerges from the side like the dress decided it was bored of being predictable. It is not centered, not symmetrical, not even trying to behave. And yet somehow it works. It feels like a bustle that wandered off script and found a better position. What makes it even more intriguing is the balance, because despite the asymmetry, nothing feels off. The structure still hugs in the right places, still flows where it should, like the chaos was carefully calculated all along. Which, let's be honest, is very Prada. Confuse you first, impress you later. And then there is that color, that rich wine-like burgundy that does not just complement Demi, it elevates her. It is giving power, but quiet power. The kind that does not need to announce itself because it already knows it has won. It is elegant, it is slightly disruptive, and most importantly, it makes you look twice, which in a sea of predictable glamour is exactly the point. Elle Fanning, Balenciaga. Pretty. Then suddenly unsettling. Just when you think the night cannot get any more confusing, Elle Fanning walks in and quietly proves that confusion might actually be the point. Because this look should not work. A t-shirt with a dramatic couture skirt that sounds like a fashion identity crisis waiting to happen. And yet, here we are. At the top, it is almost too simple. A soft, dusty pink t-shirt that feels casual, relaxed, almost suspiciously normal. You might even think she got dressed in 5 minutes. But then your eyes drop, and suddenly everything escalates. That skirt is not just a skirt, it is volume, texture, drama, and possibly a little bit of chaos stitched together with intent. The contrast is almost rude. Casual meets couture in a way that feels like it should argue, but instead it collaborates. The pink softens everything, while the bold red below refuses to be ignored. It is like two completely different personalities sharing the same body and somehow making it work. And here is the real twist. It feels strange. Not bad strange, but the kind of strange that makes you pause and reconsider everything you thought you liked. Because Balenciaga has never really been about making you comfortable. It has always been about pushing you slightly off balance and watching you figure it out. Elle leans into that discomfort beautifully. She does not try to make it pretty, she lets it be weird, and somehow that confidence is exactly what makes it elegant. Greta Lee, Dior classic with just enough attitude. Just when things start leaning a little too experimental, Greta Lee steps in and reminds everyone what controlled drama actually looks like. Because this is Dior, and Dior knows exactly how to flirt with tradition without fully committing to it. At first glance, it feels familiar, elegant, flowing, undeniably lady. The kind of gown that makes you stand up straighter just by looking at it. But then, of course, it cannot just behave. That lace bodice does not simply sit there looking pretty. It transforms wraps drapes and suddenly becomes something between a halter, a shawl, and a quiet little fashion statement that refuses to be labeled. And here is the thing. It could have been boring. Very easily. We have seen this kind of glamour before. But Dior sneaks in that asymmetry, that slight imbalance, like a reminder that perfection is actually a little overrated. It is polished, yes, but it is also just off enough to keep you paying attention. There is also a sense that this look is trying to correct something, a return to Lady Dior, but with a modern awareness that femininity does not have to be predictable to be powerful. And Greta, she understands the assignment. No overacting, no trying too hard. Just letting the dress do its quiet, slightly dramatic thing. Which, honestly, might be the most Dior move of all. Hailey Bieber, Schiaparelli. When fashion turns into forestry. And just when the night is serving elegance, drama, and carefully calculated chaos, Hailey Bieber walks in and accidentally starts a completely different conversation. Because this is not just a look. This is an experience, and not necessarily one everyone signed up for. Let's start with the color. Brown. Not rich chocolate, not glossy espresso, but something dangerously close to tree bark. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Suddenly, the entire look feels like it belongs in a forest rather than on a red carpet. Nature is beautiful, yes, but this is giving ancient oak with a stylist. Then comes the corset. And oh, it does not hold back. The boning is exposed in a way that feels less couture fantasy and more anatomical diagram. It pushes it, presses it, insists on being noticed. And instead of enhancing the body, it almost turns it into something structural. like the dress is wearing her instead of the other way around. And here is the real issue. Schiaparelli is known for surrealism, for bold artistic statements that make you think. But this feels less like high-concept fashion and more like a very committed metaphor that maybe went a little too far. It is not that it is boring. If anything, it is aggressively memorable. Just perhaps not for the reasons anyone hoped. And honestly, that might be the most ironic twist of all. Hilary Duff, Alberta Ferretti, a comeback wrapped in cotton candy drama. And just when the night starts getting a little too conceptual, a little too obsessed with being intellectual, Hilary Duff walks in and reminds everyone that sometimes beauty is allowed to be beautiful. Shocking, I know. Because this dress does not try to confuse you. It does not challenge your worldview. It does not whisper cryptic fashion poetry. No, it walks in fully pleated, dipped in this dreamy pink to purple ombre, and simply says, "Look at me." And honestly, you do. The color alone feels like a soft focus filter from the early 2000s, which is either nostalgia or emotional manipulation depending on how you feel about it. And the pleating endless. Like the fabric just kept going and no one had the heart to stop it. But somehow it works. It flows, it moves, it creates this almost ethereal presence that feels refreshingly uncomplicated. And here is the real twist. In a room full of people trying very hard to be interesting, Hilary is just pretty. Effortlessly, unapologetically pretty. And that almost feels rebellious. There is also something quietly satisfying about seeing her back in this space, like the main character returning in the final act, fully aware of her moment. No gimmicks, no overthinking, just a gown that understands its job and executes it flawlessly. Simple, yes. Forgettable, not even close. Jeremy Strong. Loro Piana method dressing at its finest. And just when you think menswear has shown you all its tricks for the night, Jeremy Strong walks in and casually rewrites the entire script. Because this is not just getting dressed. This is method acting, but make it fashion. At first glance, it seems straightforward. A suit, a strong color contrast, nothing too aggressive. But then you realize nothing about this is accidental. The deep red paired with that sharp black lapel is not just a color choice. It is a power move. It is giving quiet intensity like he is about to deliver a monologue that will emotionally ruin everyone in the room. And then there is the shirt situation. Slightly open, no tie, just enough undone to feel intentional, not sloppy, not careless. Calculated nonchalance, the kind that says, I know the rules, I just choose not to follow them today. Let's also talk about the glasses, because of course there are glasses. And of course they match, because Jeremy is not just wearing an outfit, he is building a character. Every detail feels like it belongs to the same narrative and somehow you believe it. And here is the slightly annoying part. It works. Too well. While everyone else is performing fashion, Jeremy is embodying it. Fully committed, slightly theatrical, and just self-aware enough to make you wonder if you are underdressed just by watching him. Kendall Jenner. The raw minimalism that judges you silently. And just when the night feels like it is spiraling into excess, Kendall Jenner walks in and does something almost offensive. She strips it all back. No drama, no sparkle, no desperate attempt to be the moment, and somehow that restraint becomes the moment. It is just black. A long, quiet silhouette that does not beg for attention. You might even think, is that it? But then you look closer and suddenly the dress starts revealing its little secrets. The way the fabric clings, wraps, and subtly distorts over the velvet skirt underneath feels intentional. Like it is doing something, but it refuses to explain what. It is giving luxury that does not need validation. The kind of outfit that looks simple until you realize it probably costs more than your rent for the next year. And that slightly crinkled texture. That is not a mistake. That is a choice. A very expensive, very deliberate choice. And Kendall wears it like she knows exactly what is happening. No overposing, no theatrics, just that calm, almost intimidating confidence. It is the fashion equivalent of saying less and meaning more. Which, let's be honest, can be a little irritating. Because while everyone else is working overtime to impress, this look just exists and somehow still wins. Quietly, effortlessly, almost smugly. And the worst part, you cannot even argue with it. Kim Kardashian, Margiela, when fashion gets a little too honest. And just when the red carpet starts settling into a rhythm of predictable glamour, Kim Kardashian walks in and completely disrupts the fantasy. Because this is not about looking beautiful. This is about making you question why you expect beauty in the first place. The mask hits first. Full coverage, no identity, no expression, a direct nod to Margiela's legacy of anonymity where the clothes take center stage. But let's be real, when Kim does it, the irony is almost delicious. She hides her face and somehow becomes even more impossible to ignore. Then the corset enters the conversation and suddenly things get uncomfortable. Not metaphorically, visually. It presses into the body, revealing the ribcage in a way that feels almost too real. This is not sculpting the body into perfection. This is exposing its structure. And people do not know how to react to that. Because we are used to illusion, soft lines, smooth curves, careful editing. This is honesty. Aggressive, slightly unsettling honesty. And yet just when the concept is doing all the heavy lifting, the color steps in and quietly ruins the mood. That muted beige drains the life out of the look like it forgot it was supposed to be dramatic. You are making a statement this bold and choosing wallpaper. Still, whether you love it or absolutely hate it, you are staring, you are thinking, and maybe just a little bit you are uncomfortable, which means it worked exactly as intended. Lucy Liu, Miss Sohee Elegance, with a hint of drama and a slight identity crisis. And just when the night starts flirting with chaos again, Lucy Liu steps in and reminds everyone what controlled elegance looks like. At first glance, it is stunning. The color alone does half the work. Rich, striking, and perfectly tuned to her presence, like the dress knew exactly who it was meant for. And then you see the necklace. Finally, someone understood the assignment. Strapless gown, clean neckline, and a statement necklace that actually shows up to do its job. It is giving luxury intention and just the right amount of extra. Not too loud, not too shy, just correct. But then we look at the dress again, and things get a little complicated. Because while the top feels refined, the skirt decides it has its own personality, volume structure, and just a bit too much enthusiasm. It is not bad, it is just a lot. Like it walked in with great intentions, but maybe had one espresso too many before arriving. And that is the tension. Elegance on top, drama below, and somewhere in the middle you are trying to decide if they are actually friends. Still, it works more than it does not. And honestly, in a night full of risks, playing with proportion and slightly losing control might be exactly what keeps it interesting. Michelle Monaghan, Carolina Herrera drama done the right way. And just when the night starts overthinking itself with concepts, references, and existential fashion crises, Michelle Monaghan walks in and delivers something almost shocking. Pure, unapologetic glamour. Because this dress does not try to confuse you. It does not whisper hidden meanings or challenge your perception of reality. No, it walks in loud, proud, and fully aware that it looks expensive. And honestly, thank you. We needed that. The floral print is bold, the silhouette is big, and the energy is unmistakable. This is not a gown that asks for attention. It assumes it already has it. The volume alone could take up its own zip code, and somehow instead of overwhelming her, it elevates her. Which, let's be real, is not easy. Big gowns can go wrong very quickly. This one said absolutely not. And then there is the color. Rich purples layered with depth and dimension like a bouquet that decided to become couture. It feels romantic but not fragile, dramatic but not desperate. The kind of balance most looks tonight are still searching for. What makes it even better is how effortless she makes it seem. No excessive styling tricks, no distractions. Just a gown doing exactly what a gown is supposed to do. Be beautiful, be impactful, be remembered. In a sea of trying too hard, this is the rare moment that reminds you, sometimes more is more, and sometimes it is exactly right. Mikey Madison, Dior's soft, sharp, and slightly underrated. And just when the night is busy rewarding the loudest looks, Mikey Madison quietly slips in and proves that subtlety can still hit just as hard. Because this is Dior at its most deceptive. It looks delicate, almost fragile at first glance, but look closer and suddenly it has teeth. That silver lace is doing something very clever. It is soft, yes, but not sweet. There is a sharpness to it, a precision in the way it hugs and reveals without ever feeling obvious. And that curved hem at the bottom, it is not just a detail, it is a little twist, a reminder that this dress is not here to be predictable. Then comes the bodysuit underneath. Same tone, same family, but just different enough to make you pause. Because most people would play it safe, nude black something invisible. But Dior said no. Let's commit, let's make it intentional. And suddenly, the whole look feels more complete, more thought through, almost a little smug about it. And here's the part that feels slightly unfair. It does not scream for attention. It does not beg to be the best look of the night. It just exists quietly confident, letting everyone else exhaust themselves trying too hard. Which ironically is exactly why you end up noticing it. Quinta Brunson, Carolina Herrera, effortless and slightly offensive in how easy it looks. And just when everyone else is busy fighting for attention with drama volume and existential fashion statements, Quinta Brunson walks in and does something almost disrespectful. She makes it look easy. Because this is not a gown that screams. It does not sparkle aggressively, it does not experiment, it does not try to reinvent fashion history. And yet somehow it lands with more confidence than half the room combined. The silhouette is clean, almost suspiciously clean. That off-the-shoulder draping wraps around her like it knows exactly where it needs to be. No confusion, no hesitation. It is smooth, controlled, and just structured enough to feel intentional without looking stiff. Which, let's be honest, is harder than it looks. And then there is the color. Soft but not forgettable. Elegant but not boring. The kind of shade that quietly elevates everything without demanding applause. It is doing its job so well that you almost forget to question it. And maybe that is the trick. This look does not need to prove anything. It already knows it works. Which ironically might be the most frustrating part. Because while everyone else is trying to be memorable, Quinta just stands there calm and composed and somehow still ends up being one of the most polished moments of the night. No chaos, no confusion, just control, and honestly, that level of confidence should come with a warning label. Selena Gomez, Armani when styling betrays the dress. And just when you think a classic black velvet moment cannot go wrong, Selena Gomez steps in and proves that even the safest choices can take a very unexpected turn. Because this should have been flawless. Truly. On paper, it is everything you want. A sleek black velvet gown, elegant crystal detailing timeless Armani energy. The kind of look that usually walks in and wins without even trying. But then the jacket happens, and suddenly everything starts to fall apart. That black velvet jacket with the silk lapel does not complement the dress. It competes with it. No worse, it consumes it. Because velvet on velvet in low lighting becomes a black hole, and now you cannot tell where the dress ends and the jacket begins. Shape gone. Silhouette missing. Clarity absolutely not invited. It is like the outfit decided to hide from itself. And the placement makes it even more confusing. Ending right around the hip, it cuts the body in a way that feels unintentional, almost like someone paused mid-styling and said, you know what, this is fine. It was not fine, which is the real tragedy here, because underneath all of this, there is a genuinely beautiful dress trying to exist, trying to breathe, and the styling just will not let it. It is not bad. It is just frustrating, and somehow that might be worse. Sydney Sweeney, Armani Beauty on autopilot. And just when you think the night might surprise you again, Sydney Sweeney walks in and delivers exactly what you expected, and that is both the strength and the problem. Because let's be honest, she looks incredible. The black velvet, the halter neckline, the silhouette hugging in all the right places. It is polished, it is glamorous, it is undeniably effective. The kind of look that guarantees compliments before she even hits the carpet. But here is where things get a little suspicious. It feels too safe. too familiar. Like we have seen this version of Sydney before, and not just once. The formula is clear. Body first, everything else second, and while that works, it also starts to feel like a loop that refuses to evolve. Because where is the risk? Where is the moment that makes you pause, rethink, question your taste? It is all very correct, and somehow that makes it a little forgettable in a room full of people trying to push boundaries. It is like watching someone with all the potential in the world choose not to use it. Not wrong, just frustrating. And maybe that is the real twist. In a night filled with chaos, experimentation, and the occasional fashion crisis, the most predictable thing ends up being the one thing you wish had taken a little more risk. Beautiful, absolutely memorable. That is still up for debate.